Hello, this is Newslive on Viewer Television. I am Jay Malik. We begin with the headlines. Federal government lifts COVID-19 restrictions and midnight curfew. Residents flee as bandits kill 17 soldiers and 3 others. Plus, President Joe Biden and Obama join forces in the White House to boost Democratic support. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari says the maintenance of federal public buildings in the country was tied to Nigeria's economy. Now, he also said this at the signing ceremony of Executive Order 11 on Wednesday, which would ensure the maintenance of federal public buildings across the country. The president said the order would reinforce the national public building maintenance policy approved in 2019. Buhari expressed his hopes that the order would open opportunities for different sectors, which would help to boost Nigeria's economy. Now, the federal government says it has concluded plans to give interest-free loans to 98,000 beneficiaries of its government enterprise and empowerment program 2.0 nationwide. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, disclosed this in a statement by her special assistant on media, Ineka Anibeze, in Abuja on Wednesday. Now, Umar Farouk said that this decision was reached following the final verification of Phase 1 applicants who qualified and were selected to benefit from small loans ranging from 50,000 naira to 300,000 naira. She further said that all the beneficiaries of GEP 2.0 would receive congratulatory and sensitizational text messages in the coming days informing them of their qualification. And on COVID-19 restrictions, the federal government has lifted a nationwide midnight curfew and limitations on gatherings, along with other restrictions imposed more than 2 years ago to curb the spread of coronavirus. The country has recorded 3,142 deaths from 255,468 cases since the start of the pandemic, according to data obtained from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control. Now, the midnight curfew was enforced when it was first introduced, but in the capital Abuja and the main commercial city of Lagos, it was mostly ignored since the beginning of last year. Now let's take it to Kaduna State, where terrorists killed 17 soldiers in an attack at a military base in Polwaya, Gwari local government area of Kaduna State. Now, source told newsmen that 40 wounded soldiers were taken to the 44 Army Reference Hospital facility, including 17 of them confirmed to have been killed by the terrorists. The source said 17 soldiers were actually killed in the attack carried out by the suspected terrorists. According to the source, during the attack, where the bloodthirsty terrorists in large number on motorcycles stormed and engaged the soldiers at the military base at Polwaya village, more than 20 other soldiers were injured. The House of Representatives has assured that it will do everything possible with the collaborative effort of security agencies to ensure safety of life and property of Nigerians in all parts of the country. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Bajabiamila, was speaking to newsmen after 5 hours of closed-door session with the security chiefs. He said the House is collaborating on ideas on how security agencies in the country can work together in synergy to curb the insecurity challenges in the country.
We had extensive deliberation. A lot of the issues we discussed there, unfortunately, as defense matters go, were not things for public consumption. But I can assure you that there was a lot of collaboration. A lot of ideas came together in terms of how the security agencies can work together as opposed to speak together in one voice as opposed to different voices. We're talking about the all-important issue of whether or not there are elements within the military themselves that we need to deal with the issue of moles, like some have stated. We talked about training and retraining. We talked about the issue of capacity and allowances. We talked about several things. A lot of them, like I said, touch on security, and I'm not at liberty at this point. But for us to have been in there for 4 or 5 hours, you must know that we made some good headway, and extensive decisions were made.
Still on insecurity, following the sacking of Abuja Imam over the controversial Simon, the Borno State Police Command has warned religious leaders to desist from public preaching. The Commissioner of Police made the warning at a stakeholders meeting on the need to regulate Islamic religious preaching in Borno State. He said the decision was prohibiting public preaching was informed by the state governor, saying that state laws frowned at sermons that incite violence and disunity among the followers of the faith.
To every law, there's always a punishment. Whenever somebody goes contrary to the law, then it's supposed to be investigated and prosecuted, and subsequently be punished for the offense he committed. And that tax falls within our family, the police and the DSS. So, and that is why we are calling on you to please partner with us, to partner with the government, so that we can be able to extend this mission of the government to the general public who are mostly unaware of this.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, said the challenge in the war against terrorism is a moral booster for the military to defeat the enemy. Now, the Army Chief, in an operational tour in 402 Special Task Force Brigade Camp in Maiduguri, told the troops that it will recognize hardworking soldiers, urging them not to relent in the fight against insurgents. He appreciated President Buhari for his support and assured to provide logistics and equipment to complement the assignment of protecting the country.
Many of them who have seen the light have surrendered, and the better for it, if only with it that development can come. But those who choose to remain in the bushes will give them the special forces treatment, will destroy them, and bring back all those things that they have kept in their enclaves. On our part, we will continue to provide all the necessary requirements for the task ahead and for the task at hand, in tandem with Army tradition. We will always appreciate and recognize those who have done well, and who have done even specially or specially well will also be more specially recognized. I urge us not to relent. I know we will not, but continue with what we have started, and we will get there. Challenges that you have sometimes is bad operations. All operations have that. But for us, what it does is to ginger us to do even more and to go directly to do that challenge authority of the Federal Republic.
When Newslive returns, the Chief of Army Staff has called on bandits and terrorists to drop their arms or face the fate. Details of these and more comes to you right after the break. Do stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Ikia Marton. Being an anchor has been a tremendous experience, from editing the news to reading the news. As an anchor, you have to be objective and impartial. Sometimes you have to put on a very indifferent look, a stoic character, such that you do not display your emotions. But then the stories that we tell, from politics to the economy to insecurity to education, also affect us. And as journalists, we're also affected by stories. From the teleprompter to the lights to the camera to the action to the reading of the news, it's all a synchronization of various activities at the same time. Sometimes you have to listen to feedback, sometimes you have to stop, sometimes you have to continue. Sometimes, there are technical hitches that we can never overlook, but then you have to come up with a strategy, you have to come up with your professionalism to ensure that the audience do not even know what is happening behind the scenes, and then you just have to carry on.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Newslive on Viewer Television. Now let's take a recap of our top stories. Federal government lifts COVID-19 restrictions and midnight curfew. Residents flee as bandits kill 17 soldiers and 3 others. President Joe Biden and Obama join forces in the White House to boost Democratic support. Now the Chief of Army Staff has called on bandits and terrorists to drop their arms or face defeat. The Army Chief disclosed this during an operational thaw at the Mai Malari cantonment in Maiduguri. While inspecting the Army park, he praised the troops for the successive operations against insurgents and recovering arms and ammunition in Sambisa Forest, Timbuktu, Triangle and other places. Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya said it will not relent in ending the wars, destabilizing the peace.
You have challenges, they are part of operations, but the military and indeed other agencies are not deterred by some few setbacks we'll have intermittently, you will call them. But we are determined to get across them and move and defeat this enemy. And what we have seen here has spoken for itself in what we are doing. And even the area of surrenders, even yesterday we had some from the Sambisa, and we are having them every now and then. What we have recovered here speak for themselves in both equipment, arms and ammunition, medical, and whatever you can think about, and we are not relenting. Our call to all these terrorists and bandits and criminals is to know that the time is against them. And the earlier they toe the line of peace, the better. Otherwise, we will get them.
And on 2023 election, an aspirant vying for a position in the State of Assembly representing the Ngoro J constituency, Nelson Lenz, has purchased interest from the PDP Secretariat in Jalingo. The report.
Nelson explained that it is time for youth to join the bandwagon of politics for the development of the youths. He noted that being a legislature is knowing the aspirations of your people and going out there to get the answer to those aspirations. He reiterates his resolve to take the youth to those aspirations.
I want to thank God for granting me the opportunity to having obtained my interest / nomination form to vie for the office of member representing my constituency in the State House of Assembly. My agenda is purely simple. My agenda is to come and bridge the gap between my people and the state government through the legislature. Being a legislator is not just putting on that coat of calling yourself a member. You must understand what a good legislator is. Being a good legislator is knowing the aspiration of your people and communicating same in the floor of the House for the benefits of your constituency.
He reiterates his resolve to take the youth off the street by providing the enabling environment for them to be useful in the society.
I have been in touch with my constituents. I have been in touch with the people at the grassroots. I know their pains, I know their aspirations, I know their beliefs and their thoughts. And it is this same thoughts and belief that has pushed me to coming up with this vision to represent them. And I am going to represent them well, and I'm going to represent their thoughts and their beliefs, and not actually my thoughts and my belief. Because going to represent them, I am going as a servant, not as their leader.
According to Nelson, it is high time youths join the bandwagon of politics for meaningful development. Linda Ghana, Viewer TV News, Jalingo.
Now let's take you to Taraba State, where 2 employees were killed and 3 others were injured when a 2-story structure under construction in Taraba State collapsed. As a result, the owner has been declared wanted by the state government. Viewers Television Linda Guana reports.
The Commissioner for Urban Development visited the collapse scene. The structure is already illegally erected.
The ministry is not actually aware. We had made effort to stop the building, having noticed that the owner has been at the site without our approval. He has not granted, we've not granted any approval to him. So as far as the ministry is concerned, this is an illegal structure. So measure to get him arrested is actually in place. And so far, our machine was here much earlier. And victims were evacuated, 2 were confirmed dead, and 3 were critically injured and were actually taken to the hospital, are currently receiving treatment.
We are informed of the incidents that took place here. So we are here on ground and we have assessed the level of damage and particularly the quality of the product that was used here for the construction. And from the physical examination, we have seen what we are supposed to have taken note of. But the way we work, we still need to subject, especially the iron rod, to further test. And comparing also the size used here, whether it was good enough to be used for such product.
Residents and eyewitnesses call on the government to take due action to deter illegal construction.
When I just look at this particular, the building of this, in fact, there is a negligence, in the sense that things supposed to be done inappropriately. Look at the cost of this, how many lives are lost now. Now, when you just look at this thing now, they are trying to dig out this thing and bring out the dead person as a negligence. When this thing should be properly done. Looking at all this thing, now when you look at this iron, the truth of the matter, this iron don't qualify to be an upstairs building.
Ever since this thing started, there are 2 casualties that are dead. We have saved like 3 lives here. Some are in the hospital, and some are here already here. They are dead. Seriously, the people that are helping have helped a lot.
Linda Ghana, Viewer TV News, Jalingo.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency says it has arrested a notorious queen of a drug cartel, Lami Rigima, who is supplying psychoactive substances to traffickers in Taraba. The NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi said in a statement in Abuja on Wednesday that operatives of the agency had made their arrest months after being on the wanted list. Now, Babafemi said that the 40-year-old came under the anti-narcotic agency's searchlight when a number of traffickers arrested in the state in 2021 and early this year fingered her as the supplier. He said that the manhunt for Lami paid off on Monday, April 4th, when operatives tracked her hideout in Iwere village in Ado Kola local government area of Taraba State. Now, Bala Muhammad, the governor of Bauchi State, has praised UNICEF and all the partners for assisting the state government in its effort to provide quality healthcare services, particularly in the area of routine immunization. The governor states this when he received delegation from the UNICEF on a courtesy call at the State Esco Chamber. Our Hassan from Bauchi State reports.
The UNICEF delegation, led by the Bauchi State Chief Field Officer, was at the State Governor's office to strengthen the two parties' solid working relationship. While greeting them, Governor Bala Muhammad speaks about the Memorandum of Understanding struck by UNICEF and the state government to improve healthcare service delivery.
We know we have signed a robust MOU, and the MOU is just helping to drive us in terms of giving us the required political impetus to be able to provide good health care and improve the quality of lives of our people. And we are learning a lot from what you have set out to achieve in the MOU and in the agreement, because we have seen how good governance can be done and how some of our own gaps and limitations can be blocked. And I'm happy that at least we are in mid-course achieving this. We are very modest.
According to Bala Muhammad, the Bauchi State government is doing everything possible to free up resources so that additional health personnel can be hired to boost healthcare delivery. He did, however, praise UNICEF and other partners for their assistance to the state administration, particularly in the area of routine immunization.
Routine immunization is very, very key to be able to tackle that scourge of COVID-19. And that's where we are. And then, of course, I assure you, we'll be able to get the small releases that are required to provide resources for our primary health development agency to work. And we'll deepen collaboration and interaction between our agencies in health, the Parent Ministry, the Minister of Health, so that there will be supervision, there will be M&E. Primary Health Center is not just an island in itself.
The MOU signed between the state government and the UNICEF is beneficial to Bauchi State in many ways.
In Bauchi State, under the MOU, while a lot has been done, a lot could be done. We already discussed it, sir. I think there is a huge scope and an opportunity to excel and to accelerate the gains that we had in the recent past. Just to conclude and to reiterate our support for this whole initiative, we are with the state shoulder to shoulder to ensure that we reach out to all the women and children in the state for their well-being. And thank you for all the efforts, the officials from Bauchi, I think Nagode.
Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
Now, the House of Representatives took steps to address the epileptic power supply in the country, which has brought untold hardship on Nigerians. Now, the Green Chamber urged the federal government to upgrade power transmission and distribution infrastructure and seek the best alternative sources of energy to ensure steady supply across the country. This is sequel to the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by the Chief Whip of the House, Mohammed Muguno. Moving the motion, Muguno emphasized that electricity is a crucial enabler for industrial development and social welfare. Hence, it is the backbone of development in any country.
The frequent collapse of the power grid and load shedding has become a matter of national embarrassment, and the increase in electricity tariff has not brought about any improvement in power supply across the country. Worried that the epileptic power supply in Nigeria has retarded the country's development and caused untold hardship for the people due to the consequent collapse of business and low productivity. Also worried that the lack of adequate supply has not only hurt businesses but has caused huge economic losses for the country as a whole. Cognizant that economic development cannot be achieved without adequate power supply, which is a major determinant in job and wealth creation. Also cognizant that to achieve constant power supply, the federal government needs to take a cue from other countries and seek other means of generating power, such as coal-fired power plants, wind and solar, among others.
And on business today, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria and the National Bureau of Statistics data, between 2016 and 2021, Nigerians' imports bill rose from 8.73 trillion naira to of 20.84 trillion naira. Now, this implies that within the 5-year period, imports into the country rose by 12.11 trillion, or 229.10%. The CBN stated that Nigerian import bill rose from $16.65 billion in 1980 to $67.5 billion in 2014, a development that has had negative impacts on the country's exchange rate. Now, according to a financial report released last month, Nigerians' rapidly growing appetite for imported goods, among other things, creates a large demand for the United States dollars while supply remains poor. And on oil theft, the House of Representatives Committee on Finance has asked the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission to provide details of crude oil production for the fourth quarter of 2021 and the first quarter of 2022. Now, the committee said the information would help the House to determine the revenue accrued to the Federation through the NUPRC within the period. The chairman of the committee, James Falake, made the request at the continued investigative hearing of the panel in Abuja. Now, NUPRC, in a written presentation to the committee, said out of total sum of 695.617 billion naira revenue released in the period under review, the sums of 616.182 billion, 19.556 billion, 39.85 billion, 3.502 billion, 6.693 billion, and 10.599 billion naira were generated from oil royalty, gas flaring penalty, concession rentals, MISC oil revenue, and signature bonus, respectively. Some telecommunication subscribers were left stranded after telecom companies barred their lines from making calls following a directive from the federal government. Now, the federal government had on Monday directed telecom companies to enforce compliance with its National Identification Number subscriber identity model policy by blocking outgoing calls on all unlinked lines after the deadline of the same name verification expired on March 31st. While giving the directive, the government revealed that 125 million SIMs had submitted their names for linkage. The Nigerian Communications Commission stated that there were 197.77 million active telecom subscribers as of February 2022. Checks by newsmen revealed that subscribers have started visiting telecom service centers in droves to link their name to the SIMs. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Unclaimed Funds on Nigeria Commercial Banks and the Infrastructure of the Central Bank of Nigeria has said the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund owes the federal government about 3.8 billion naira. The chairman of the committee, Uyeme Idem, who made this known at the ongoing investigative hearing by the panel, stated that the sum represented the amount that the NSITF failed to remit to the government between 2016 and 2018. Idem noted that the NSITF submitted audited financial statements for only this period, while the committee arrived at the figure based on the documents it had received. You're still watching Newslive on Viewer Television. We now bring to you international news right after the break. Do stay tuned.
And on news around the world, I am Jennifer Okolo. Now, China has reported more than 20,000 COVID-19 cases on Wednesday, the highest daily tally given since the start of the pandemic, as millions locked down in Shanghai began a new round of testing. The country's zero-COVID strategy has come under immense strain as cases spike, with around 25 million residents of Shanghai, China's largest city, and economic engine room, ordered to stay at home as the authorities struggle to contain the outbreak. Until March, China had kept daily cases low with snapped localized lockdowns, mass testing, and strict restrictions on international level. Now, residents in Shanghai take COVID tests while under lockdown. China reported over 20,000 COVID-19 cases on Wednesday, the highest daily tally given since the start of the pandemic, with Shanghai the heart of the virus surge despite being in lockdown. Under the latest lockdown, they are not allowed to leave their homes for any reason other than to be tested for the virus and are reliant on city officials for food and basic supplies. The wave has been described as China's most severe since COVID-19 first broke out in Wuhan at the end of 2019. Meanwhile, Joe Biden and Barack Obama are getting the band back together at least for the day, with the former president visiting his former vice president in the White House to try and restore democratic momentum ahead of midterm elections. For Obama, it will be the first time he steps into the hallowed corridors and historic rooms since he left 5 years ago, handing power to Donald Trump and ushering in a period of political turmoil unprecedented in modern times. For Biden, who served 2 terms as deputy to the first black president before coming out of retirement to deny Trump a second term, this will be also a poignant moment.
Million, and now it is good to be back in the White House. It's been a while. I confess, I heard some changes have been made by the current president since I was last here. Apparently Secret Service agents have to wear aviator glasses now. And there's a cat running around, which I guarantee you Bo and Sonny would have been very unhappy about.
President, welcome back to the White House, man. Feels like the good old days. Being here with you brings back so many good memories. We just had lunch together and we weren't sure who was supposed to sit where. Look, it's fitting that the first time you return to the White House is to celebrate a law that's transforming millions of lives.
Anti-government protesters angry over a hike in fuel prices, tolls and a curfew clash with police in the Peruvian capital Lima. Later in the day, Peruvian President Pedro Castillo announced the end of the curfew in Lima following crisis talks with Congress. Castillo had late on Monday ordered residents to remain in their homes between 2 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. local time in an effort to re-establish peace and internal order amid nationwide protests over rising fuel and food prices. All Christian priests and nuns joined the public to protest the Sri Lankan government's handling of the country's economic crisis while suppressing public dissent. Sister Resika Pierce of Sisters of the Holy Family said nuns could not remain silent in converts as people suffer all over the country. Methodist and American missionary priests attended the Negombo protest, which was organized by the Christian Solidarity Movement. Thousands of people in the city supported the demonstration as protesters shouted slogans accusing politicians of keeping them hungry, taking commissions during the civil war, dividing people by race and religion, and robbing the central bank. Many economists say Sri Lanka's crisis has been exacerbated by government's management's years of accumulated borrowing and ill-advised tax cuts.
Country. This is a valuable country with intelligent people. But our intelligence, the people's intelligence has been insulted by corruption. Therefore, now we call out, as the Catholic Church here present, in one voice with all our people, please now listen to the cry of the people and step down. How could people be so insensitive when people are crying out for basic human needs?